Have you ever thought about who the most important Czech personality is? Could it be King Charles IV? Or maybe the teacher of nations, Jan Amos Komenský? And what about the visionary Libuše? The greatest Czech figure is obviously the genius Jára Cimrman. The Czech nation learned that it had a new genius and that his name was Jára Cimrman from the radio. The program was called The Non-Alcoholic Wine Cellar by The Spider. Authors were Zdeněk Svěrák and Jiří Šebánek. It was built from the same raw materials as the Jára Cimrman Theatre was later. That is, mystification and pseudoscience, both in the service of humor. The idea of founding Jára Cimrman Theatre came from Jiří Šebánek. At the premiere performance, the original intention was to present two Cimrman plays, one by Svěrák and one by Šebánek. However, since Šebánek didn't finish his piece in time and Svěrák's stand-in was too short for a full evening program, a series of lectures was added beforehand as an emergency solution.
Sympozium, které předchází hře Akt, opravdu počítá především s diváky začátečníky. Poskytne vám ty nejzákladnější cimrmanologické poznatky, a to formou snadno přístupnou. Druhým kladem dnešního večera je složení vědeckého týmu. Lze, myslím, bez nadsázky říci, že až na několik výjimek jde vesměs o špičkové kapacity.
These lectures introduced the audience to Cimrman himself. These so-called seminars turned out to be such a strong and successful format that they became a permanent part of all subsequent performances. The performers presented themselves as experts, so-called Cimrmanologists, interpreting the master's works as part of their academic research. Therefore, they were not expected to meet the artistic standards of professional actors. More plays emerged and the theatre's members changed and evolved over time. However, one rule remained. Women were not part of the troupe. The actor with the most female roles is Milan Čepelka. Cimrman became a phenomenon and a major part of Czech culture. The plays are constantly sold out, a film was made, and many plays across the Czech Republic bear his name. But how do you share this legacy with people who don't speak Czech? How about creating an English version of the Jára Cimrman Theatre? That's exactly what Brent Stewart and Emilia Machalová thought, and together with Zdeňka Jelínková, they managed to create a perfect English equivalent.
And so I was very honoured to be asked to be part of it.
This is how Michael Pitton, an actor and one of the founding members, describes it.
And I don't think any of us really realised at the beginning quite how popular it would be, but also how long we might be able to continue. Because we really thought we'd get a season out of this, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And here we are, 10 seasons later, 11 years almost.
But the audience isn't made up of just foreigners.
And these days we have mainly more Czechs, because Czechs love it. I think some Czechs are skeptical and others embrace it, and sometimes we get people buying tickets because they think they're coming to the Czech version and they leave during the interval, which is fine. You know, our tickets are cheaper, so why not take a chance, I guess.
It wasn't enough to simply translate the plays, they had to be made more theatrical.
And I was in the bar for one of these performances, and a couple of Spanish tourists came out and they were like, "What is this? This isn't theatre," because they hadn't been prepped.
In the play The Conquest of the North Pole, there's a moment when the group runs out of food and suggests eating their friend who's pulling the sled instead of dogs. Could Michael handle that too, or is it just a role?
Už je to tady, zešíleli. Pánové, vzpamatujte se, my žádný psy nemáme.
What a question. I don't know. I think there was a rugby team from Bolivia who crashed in the Andes, and I believe they ended up, but the people are already dead. So I guess that's the big question. I guess if the circumstances came to it and it was a question of survival, then possibly, but I'm not sure I would kill the dogs.
Do you hear how beautiful his English sounds, even though he's talking about murdering his friends? So if you don't have plans for the evening, don't hesitate to check it out.
The nation stands, Czechs will all always attacked.